Hey everybody, Dave Shimoleski here, Direct Line Media. This is the second episode of our podcast. With me, I have a good friend, a person we've done some work together with. He is a local real estate agent here in West Hartford, and his name's Dave Pilon. Dave, thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Cool. So to get started, this is a little. So as I said, this is the second one, and doing things a little bit different, although the same. We have a table this time. We're not holding our microphone, so it's hopefully a little bit more comfortable for everybody. And welcome to my offices. I don't think you've ever been here yet.
No, I mean, I haven't made it much further than the front door in this building before.
So it's a cool building. We are, if people don't know where we are, we're at 485 in New Park. It's where New Park Brewing is, and it's a really a fun, cool building. And I've been here for a few years now, but new space in the same building. And I just hung up signs yesterday. Did you see my signs coming down the hallway?
I did. I did not get lost on the way here.
Nice.
It's a little bit of a walk, but yeah.
Nice, right on me. So tell me a little bit about, you're now with the Miali team, and so let's talk a little bit, because I think that's, as I said, this is the people behind the brand, so let's talk a little bit about...
like behind my brand.
Behind your brand.
We're not just talking about you here?
No, not talking about, although I'd love to talk just about me all day. We can't do that, so we're going to talk about you. And your brand. So just give everybody a little bit of history about what you've been doing here in West Hartford.
A little history.
A little history. Yeah.
I love history.
I left that open-ended for you.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's like just tell me about yourself.
Right.
Well, I did grow up here in West Hartford. Oh God, I could make this story really long, or I don't really even know.
We got time. This is an open-ended format.
Okay.
We could go as short as long as you like. So, I mean, if you want to tell us about your childhood and growing up.
No. I think ideally, I would tell you how I've gotten to where I am right now
let's talk about
my career.
Because I know you were killing it as Dave Pilon at Keller Williams.
Yes.
As far as I could tell, anybody could tell, and then you joined this group that's really been doing well, the Miali team. Mm-hmm. So I want you to take me through sort of like that decision, like why you got into real estate, how you built your brand of Dave Pilon.
Okay, this will be fun.
And then let's
okay.
and then up to where we are now.
All right. Here we go. So actually, let's start at the end, and then I'll take you back, right?
Cool.
Miali team is like a group within Keller Williams Realty. And the thing about it that is appealing to me is, for one thing, I do really like Matt Miali.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Who doesn't?
But the other part is that it's a very successful team that actually sells, I believe the most real estate in West Hartford, right?
Wow.
So like that's one thing, but then also there's like other stats, and like I don't want to like misquote anything. So like
Sure.
These are all just like general things.
Sure.
But it's a system that works that I don't have to spend a lot of time building myself. I can just focus on relationships and giving people the best possible service that I can, through this team. So how did I get here, though?
Yeah,
That's what you want to know.
Yeah,
All right, yeah. Hopefully I presented that well. But anyways.
Yeah, so Miali is, I've known Matt for a little while, off and on, acquaintances, I guess, really, and yeah, he's grown. I remember when he had two people with him, and now he's got 20-something, I believe.
About like 25 to 27.
Yeah, which is huge. And here's Dave Pilon jumping on board.
All right. So how did I even get here, right?
Yeah.
Because I've been in the real estate business for, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. We're pushing 8 years now, okay? So how did I even make the decision to be here, right?
Yeah.
So I grew up here in West Hartford. And a big thing for me was, as you know, I'm very involved with Camp Jewel in the YMCA there, right? So I was always a camp kid. So that was my thing for a long time. I have a whole previous career. I met with like a career consultant once. They're like, "Whoa, you have this like whole career in the camping industry." Yeah, so like I've been a lifeguard. I do like I know all. I was a ropes course director.
You a lifeguard at a beach or a pool or a lake?
At a lake.
At a lake. See, I did
Yes.
lifeguarding at a pool. Never did the
So I worked at a number of different like outdoor recreation camp facilities throughout high school and college, and I have a master's degree in recreation management.
Get out.
Yeah, you know what that lets
No,
you?
no
I was just,
idea.
like the
I
joke
wanna-
would be that do you know what you become if you have a master's
Yeah.
degree in recreation
You
management?
become a gym
A
teacher.
real estate agent.
Oh, real estate agent. Of course. So let's.
This is kind of fun because we've never actually had this
We've never had
conversation.
this conversation,
And that's
and
why like most of the time it's kind of irrelevant. People just like you for like what you're working.
Yeah.
They feel good about it.
Yeah,
Like
'cause in
nobody cares about your history. This is what I find most of the time.
It is interesting because we go to these meetings. You and I go to network and all that stuff. So hey, I'm Dave. What do you do? Video. I do. And that sort of is your life. Real estate. But nobody knows that you have a master's in recreation
Management from Springfield College. Yeah.
So, what was your? I got to ask this now. What were your thoughts of when you're taking that master's? Where was your? Was it like I'm going to be a real estate agent anyway? I just want this master's degree, or did you have a different path?
At that point I was very involved in the camping industry, right? So I was thinking I would be, if not camping, you could be involved in like resort management or parks and recreation. Like those were the kind of things that the people in that, and it's also like it's kind of like it fits in the category of the bigger program of sport management. So that like all the people in my class like wanted to be like coaches or they wanted to work in like professional sports like NFL, NBA, cool. So it was actually an interesting group of people. And then there's like a couple other camp people and some parks and rec people.
Okay.
But I will tell you, like, you don't really need a degree at all to do what I'm doing, actually.
Yeah.
So it's actually just a fun thing to say. No, I never say that, and people are like, "Oh, you shouldn't ever have done that." I'm like, well, like they do from you spent a lot of money on that. Maybe you shouldn't have done that. But it is kind of a cool part of my history at this point.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
No,
I think so. So you graduated and you said like I'm going to be a real estate agent instead. Like is that
No.
how it
There
went?
was like so after I graduated. First of all, I graduated in 2008 from that program. So I don't know if you remember what was going on in 2008, but it was somewhat difficult to find a job.
It was a little hard at that time.
Yeah, so I leaned back onto things that I knew already. So I kept working as a program facilitator type person, right? And so I'm like, oh man, I got this master's degree. Like now I'm like just doing this job. So if I'm going to do this job, I'm going to do it in somewhere cool. So I started looking for interesting spots. I ended up at a facility in San Bernardino, California.
Okay.
In the mountains, which was cool. So like, I had a good way to go live somewhere else for, a small or long amount of time. I really had no idea at the time what I was going for.
Yeah.
So I was there for a year and a half, and I had two different jobs there. Actually, I worked at a camp where I led 50-mile treks too. So that was fun, right? But like mostly I was doing outdoor education programs with school children while I was there. So that was kind of fun. While I was there, so in the industry that I was in, there's a lot of like nonprofits. It's the YMCA or the Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, Boys and Girls Club, like that kind of thing. This place I was working in California was run by an entrepreneur.
Okay.
So like he had like a camp and an outdoor education program and like a magazine.
Wow.
Right? Like so I was fascinated by this because in all of our schooling we're never prepared for this idea of like business owner.
No. No, never.
Yeah, I mean that's what you are too. So
Yeah.
I'm sure you had that realization at some point.
There's
Like,
a
wait a
steep-
minute, I
there's
could
a-
just go off on my own.
Yeah. And there's a steep learning curve if you're not prepared.
Yeah.
But it all works out. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So watching this guy he's an entrepreneur, I'm like, that is so interesting to me. He just like started a business. And like I didn't even understand like, some people you have to spend money to make money if you're in that world, right? So it's like some people are able to raise it through, investors or bank loans or what. So I didn't even understand how that part worked. I was just fascinated by the fact that you could just like start something. Like, wait a minute, he doesn't have a job too? Like, this is just like, he figured out how to run this thing as a business. And so there was a lot of conversations amongst the workers there too about it, because for all of us, really, we're not used to working at facilities that are run by business owners. So it's kind of interesting, right?
Yeah.
We're used to having like a program director who works for someone who works for something, like, and you don't really know who's in charge or whatever. But in this case, it was like, oh, this guy runs the show here. He owns the business. He hired everybody. He started this from scratch. Wow. That's interesting. So like that started to spur this whole idea of maybe I'd like to do something, for myself.
Okay.
And that was in 2011. Right.
Okay.
So now here we are. It's 2020.
2020. Yeah. Right. Crazy.
Yeah.
2 days is going to be February of 2020. So I don't know where that's going, but.
So ultimately, we'll make a long story short there, right? So I came back to Connecticut. And I was like, I gotta figure, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but the ultimate goal would be to do something that is a little more entrepreneurial. So I started just, exploring that idea. And at one point, a friend of mine said, have you ever thought about getting a real estate license? Because it's kind of like what you're talking about, but you have lots of other people around that are also learning about the same sort of thing. So it's like you're in business for yourself, but you're also part of a larger group that's also learning and growing in the same ways. So that idea was very appealing to me, and that I just started that idea. I didn't really ever have a plan B. I mean, I was had other things going on on the side, that I'd worked out. But yeah, that was in July of 2012. That was when I started my real estate career. Okay. So as a person who, when you join a real estate company, you have this picture in your mind of like, okay, so like what happens? Do you just show up and like they give you some clients to work with or what? You don't even after like exploring the idea of being an entrepreneur, like you still don't really understand that actually it's all up to you, right? It's completely up to you. You have to find all of the clients,
which is satisfying and terrifying all
yourself.
At the same time.
Yeah. So there's a lot of different ways to do it, but like one of the big things at Keller Williams Realty, which is my company, I've started there. I don't really ever plan on leaving that company. It's like it's an amazing company because it's not even cool. Really it's like it's educational and business building services that you use to build your own business, which anybody in real estate who really knows what's going on knows that you have to build your own business.
I mean, it seems like you're building your own business within Keller Williams, but what I think is very cool about that is that they give you the autonomy to do it as you see fit, to do it as yourself, right? So you can put your personality into your business, so you're not corporatized. I don't know if that's a word. Which is very, very cool. So now you're Dave Pilon. You have a very
I did work on two different teams.
Okay,
right.
You have a very unique way of presenting yourself, which some other people don't. And I think a company like Keller Williams gives you the freedom to do that. Where I mean, I don't know. I'm not familiar with the inside workings of other agencies, but anyway, that's kind of my take on it. So that's why I think it's a pretty cool business.
So let's break it down a little bit.
Okay.
So I worked on a team for 2 years when I started, and then I switched to working by myself. And now you can see I've ultimately decided to once again work on this team. So why might I want to do that, right? I think one thing I would say is I'm in a business where nobody will ever it's like a revolving door, right? So people come in, they're very excited, they do 3 deals, and they decide it's not for them. Or people are really struggling, but they don't want to let anyone know that they're struggling because then it makes them look like they're not good at what they're doing. So especially like in the social media world, everybody wants to look like they're killing it when you know, there's definitely been times where like people are like, wow, it looks like you're killing it. And I'm thinking like, yeah, you know, that's great.
Yeah.
On the inside, you know that's not true, but you can't talk about it that
Yeah.
much, right? You can talk about it to like close friends or whatever, right?
Sure.
So working by myself versus ultimately ending up, so the team I was on originally, that was great because it got me into the real estate business, right? So I had been licensed for like 2 months and I just needed something to do. And they were just basically like, call these people, see how they're doing. And that got me like a jump start in the business. But then after a couple of years, I went on my own and I worked by myself for a while, right?
So doing everything yourself, you were marketing and calling and figuring it out, the day-to-day activities, that kind of stuff?
Yes. Through my efforts of networking and social media and whatnot, I do a number of deals per year. And it's just like, it's been the same thing for about 5 years. And it's like, I'm grateful for every single referral that I get and every piece of business that I do. But like, in order to really take it to the next level, there's things that you'd have to do like that involve spending money I don't have, resources that I like will take me years till I could get to that point. So I was at a point this past fall where I decided.
I love the part spending money you don't have because you kind of
And that's what everybody's doing. They're running up like
right?
ridiculous amounts of credit card debt, buying cars that they can't afford, so people will think they're successful.
Yeah, so that's
like it's crazy.
That's a different thing. So there is a certain
real estate agents will say that they need a good car.
I guess real estate. Yeah, there is sort of a. There's a look, right? Maybe that you need to maintain. If you roll in your 1975 Pinto rusted, may not be a good first impression for a possible client.
Yeah, I mean things that a lot of people might not realize is like there's lots of little expenses and they add up.
I love it.
You know?
Yeah. No, I agree. No, spending money you don't have.
It's like you've spent like professional photography.
Yeah.
$150. You know. Calling lists, like people that there's like data mining companies that like will put together lists of people who might be interested in buying or selling real estate.
What if you don't buy those things? What if you don't?
Well,
get
that's
the headshot?
what I did. I didn't do a lot of that stuff, and whenever I did, it would be like painful. Like I don't want to spend my.
Did it help?
It's hard to say, right? Because a lot of that is branding. And branding, and this is the struggle, right?
Yeah.
Branding is long-term business.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I make a video with you.
Yeah.
Somebody watches it, or I make a number of videos with you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I might get me business in like 4 years. But when you're starting in a business like real estate, you want something that's going to close in like 2 or 3 months.
Sure.
And actually, you never really stop wanting that.
Yeah.
Right? So whether that stuff works is really hard to tell. But what I do know is that all of this stuff put together does generate business, right?
Sure.
So what you get through being a part of the team is all of a sudden, like, I have like almost no business expenses. It's all covered through the team. Now, you take per transaction, you take less money, but it's actually easier to deal with than like,
because your whatever the percentage is, when you sell that property,
it's just that's it. I mean, you still have to think about taxes, of course.
But it's definitely I get
it. And not only that, there's extra value in there. So like you are a part of a system that is going to responsibly spend money on things that will help you potentially generate business,
like cool hats.
Yeah. Or there's an event like every 2 weeks. The Star Wars movie, or it's just like it's nonstop. The Wolf Pack.
Yeah.
We're gonna do yard goats.
Yeah, awesome.
We have buyer seminar, all this stuff. Like I would never do that on my own, right?
What's the
or not anytime soon.
Because there's a lot. So I mean, there's Star Wars, and now I think this weekend or something you have the hockey game, and then you said you can do baseball in the spring. So why? What's the reason for all these? Spending all this money to invite all these people to go to all these games. I mean, I'm sure that's not a cheap investment.
No, but it's actually the most useful one. Because, yeah, sure, you could keep cold calling these lists and stuff like that, but what we really want are referrals from friends, family, and past clients.
Who
right?
gets invited to these events? Is it just
That's
clients?
the fun part.
Is
It's
it
like you
prospective clients?
kind of, yeah, it could be anyone, right? Because it's going to be a combination of people who you've done business for or with previously, or not. It could just be people that you like being around, because people you like being around like being around you.
Yeah.
And in the long run, you're potentially going to get referrals from them anyways. So you just kind of go with that, and there's no expectation, you know. There's
Sure.
no. It's just like it's a fun time, and there's no expectation that there'll be a referral.
Come
that
have
comes
fun with this. We're not going to
Yeah.
sell you anything. We're not going to pitch to you. We just want you to be here and have fun in this.
Yeah,
experience,
because
which
it's
is-
all about.
which is
Okay,
very cool.
so I remember these couple of stats that are like kind of fun that I like to throw out there. So like, I say that I've heard everybody knows 11 realtors, right? And then when I say that, I see people start thinking about it. They're like, do I know 11 realtors? I don't know if I know 11 realtors. And it's because you do know 11 realtors.
Yeah.
You probably know 25,
I
someone like
probably
yourself,
know
right?
A lot, yeah.
But the one that you're going to use is the one, the one you're going to hire. Yeah, that's a fun thing with that. Like, I don't want to be used. I want to be hired,
Yeah.
right? But the one that you're going to work with or refer is the one that you think of first and you know, like, and trust, right?
Sure.
So that's the idea behind these events. There's no expectation, but you're going to know, like, and trust more people on the Meali team if you go to the events.
Of course.
And you're going to be like, if you do know 5 to 11 realtors, right? Like the average person probably does, you're gonna think of them first. They're like, yeah, I went to the hockey game with them. We got ice scraper and like,
Yeah.
and they just really treat everyone well. And not only that, but the results are there too. Like
The result-
we do,
yeah.
they you know.
He's definitely.
We're going to do
the
actual the best practices in the industry
Sure.
are taking place in the Meali team.
What have you learned since being on the Meali team? As far as have you? I mean, I know now you're not directly marketing, but you still go to networking events. You still have to present yourself. Is there anything that you do differently, better? Something you've learned since being with Meali?
Well, I love networking.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that's
you do.
with yes.
It's one of your things, yeah.
But the thing is that you cannot, and I do see this at a lot of people that go to these events, and I'm not probably going to stop. I've reevaluated like how many of them I want to go do, right? But like, there's a lot of people at networking events that are just hanging out.
Sure.
And I'm not gonna try to put anyone down or anything, right? Like it's just like maybe they just don't know that you also have to be prospecting for your business. You can't just hang out at networking events and expect things to come to you. I think I did a bit of that in previous versions of my business. Because you will get business, you will get referrals just from hanging out, but like there's also, you have to do more intentional things to get business. You have to ask people directly. Because you have, like, sometimes people don't even know that you actually want the business. They might think you're, like, too busy for business or, I don't know.
Well, what I find, if anybody...
You want to look busy, but you also don't want to be too busy to...
If anybody's been to any of these networking events where Dave has introduced himself, you may get the impression, like, how come this guy is not talking anything about his business, what he does, and with anything? But on the upside of that, I think it's memorable. I think it's fun because everybody stands up and they get, and I think anybody that goes to a networking event and stands up in front of anywhere between 30 to 80 people, depending on when you are, I mean, that takes, especially if you've never done it before. I remember my first event, I stood up, I started through it, and it's still a little nerve-wracking, but just the way you present yourself is... and it sticks, right? Because that's well, yeah, Dave. You remember he's the guy. He's the movie star. Oh, right, yeah, Dave. I remember him. Which is not, people are like movie star. He's a real estate agent, but no, you. And I think it's those quirky kind of fun things of as part of your brand, right? Because now you're doing videos. You're in videos.
Well, because you want to make people feel comfortable.
Because you want to make yeah.
But here's my take on how networking
yeah
ought to work, right? Because a lot of people will go to these things. They have their 30-second commercial they have to talk about. And talking about yourself is very difficult. Like, I even get nervous about it every time I have to do it.
Yeah.
Still, to this day.
Of course.
So the thing is that nobody's listening to your commercial. You should really, if you're going to do anything, just get up and say, like, hey, I'm, whatever your business is. I'm Dave, I'm a jeweler, or I'm Johnny, and I'm a bricklayer.
Yeah.
You need some bricks laid?
Yeah.
Just call me, right?
Yeah.
That's it. That's all you.
That's all you need.
Because if you start trying to think of like a memorable thing, like there's a couple people in there that like they have some pretty fun things that they do,
Absolutely.
right? But for the most part, if you're just gonna talk about what you do, just say what it is and then sit back
And
down.
sit
Because
down.
like that's not gonna get you any business, right? So if you want to actually get referrals out of a group, you have to be there over and over again. Like half the time, if I'm going to like, West Hartford Chamber Connections, like half the people there, like they know me already. And that's the people that I'm actually trying to continue to connect with and be friends with and, invite them to things that I'm interested in, right? Like,
Sure.
so that's it. So it's about staying. But if you just go once and say what you do, it doesn't matter how creative it is. Nobody's ever going to remember you again. So
I had this
yeah.
conversation with Steve in the last episode, and
Mm-hmm.
we talked about when people hire him, are they hiring him? Are they hiring his company, right? So with a
Mm-hmm.
real estate agent, they're hiring you, right? I mean, you do belong to the alley team, Keller Williams, so they are hiring Keller Williams, but
Mm-hmm.
it's more of a personal thing. And I told him, well, when they hired, me, Direct Line Media, they're not hiring my company, right? They're hiring me because they expect me to do the work. So I think it's important that you show up, because when they call on you to do the service, they expect you to do it. So I think you personally are your own brand, right?
Yeah, well, there's
Yeah.
no way around it in anything you do. You
Sure.
personally are your own brand.
Yeah. I think it doesn't
Like
work.
if
It
you,
doesn't work
if
any
you-
other way, right?
Like people hate talking about it, right? But like if you are thinking about how you look before you leave the house, you're thinking about your personal brand.
Yeah.
Right? How do you want to be presented?
Yeah.
To me, it is very important that I am always the same person. Like no matter what.
Yeah. Well,
I don't want to be fake.
Well, it's just like your logo. You can't keep putting a different logo up and a different tagline all over the place, right? It has to remain. There's some sort of consistency there. So I agree with
Yeah,
that.
your personal brand.
Your personal brand.
Sometimes, and this is how I know that like maybe this is a person I don't want to spend a lot of time around, right? Sometimes when I talk about this, people are like, "Yeah, but you never talk about like the bad stuff." And I'm like, "What are you even talking about?"
Yeah.
Like why would I even want to talk about that anyways?
Yeah. Why would you want to talk about it? You don't want to talk about the bad stuff. Bad
Yeah.
stuff happens, and you
And
deal
bad,
with it.
it happens to everyone.
And you move forward. But
Exactly.
you
You
don't
don't
talk
like
about it.
dwell on it.
Sure.
You don't.
So what's
is
some
it-
bad things that happen? Are you talking?
I can't even see.
don't
Yeah, that's
talk
it.
about
It's
it.
like I can't even
just-
think of them. But it's
Yeah.
not because I'm like repressing them or whatever.
You just
it's just
they're
like
not why. Yeah. Why dwell on the bad
why,
stuff?
yeah. I don't dwell on the bad
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
Maybe that's part of my personal brand.
Yeah.
If you don't like that, if you want to talk about it, if you want to talk about things that are making you upset or no, like that's probably not
Then
your
I might
person.
not be your realtor,
Yeah.
right?
That might sound harsh. Maybe
Yeah.
like occasionally I'll talk to people
Yeah.
about like, oh, you're having a bad day. That's too bad. Like whatever. But then I'm gonna leave.
Yeah.
No. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, I've made that mistake.
Yeah.
Just talking to somebody, and for whatever reason, I was in that, and it happened to me once that I remember. I went and met this guy, and we were just chatting and stuff, and for whatever reason, I'm going off about like just the miserable week I've had, and I left, and I got in my car. I'm like, what did I just do? Mm-hmm. Like what? He doesn't want to hear that nonsense, and for what I don't know.
Oh yeah. I mean, you know what? I probably
I don't know
have done
why.
that
I don't know
too.
why that
Yeah.
happened, but it was just one of those days, and I've really made a conscious effort to never let that happen again. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
People don't care. They just want to. You don't even have to talk about anything important, as long as you're just kind of chatting about stuff and not bringing up past problems.
Here's something that I think over the past year or so, particularly, I think I've had a big realization about. It's actually that most people are not like, let's see the best way to put this, are not like optimal.
Yeah.
Right? In their mentality, in their view of the world or wherever, right? So they So if for one thing, you have to be careful who you're taking your advice from, right? So that's why I'm thinking, like, I think I've got it figured out, that part of things, like, yeah, like, I'm not gonna focus. I don't really know where I'm going with that thought.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
I got you.
Yeah.
It's funny. You always. I'm starting a business. Hey, you should. You get it all the time. Oh, you should do this, and I've heard this, and this is really great. And
lots of people trying to give you advice,
and that's
who
really good,
are not
in it.
Yeah,
they're not
They're not in it, and they don't feel good about what they're doing.
And they don't feel good. Yeah, that's
huge. That's what I mean.
Yeah. So they want to try to get you to do something in that direction, and I'm like, well, yeah, I'm doing it. So and that's something about sticking to your beliefs and who you are, your brand, and moving forward. That even if your wife or girlfriend or whatever says like, no, I don't think that's a good idea. Like, well, I do.
Being able to, it sometimes can be hard to stick to that,
Yeah.
I think it's because you think about it every time. You're like, yeah, well, maybe I could just get a job at an insurance company. I probably could figure that out at this point. Yeah,
but do I want to do that?
No, I'm too deep in this now.
That's it. Too deep. Like there's no turning back.
Not only that, like it's a lifestyle that, like, whatever. I don't have to ask for permission to do anything.
No, exactly. It's a lifestyle you get accustomed to, and if there's a downside, like you don't know, like, man, it's pretty slow this month. Whether it's slow at a company that you're an employee, doesn't matter because you're still getting a paycheck. But there's a certain thrill in closing the deal that you don't get working for somebody else, really, unless you're one of those people that closes deals. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But what do you think of this table?
It's cool.
Got this. I told her, sorry, I gotta do this little segue here. So as I said, I'm in this building at 485, and there's a company here called Blaze and Bloom.
Oh, cool.
And they do antiques and whatnot.
You walked past them.
You walked past Blaze and Bloom. So I was in there yesterday. I said, listen, I need a table, and this one doesn't quite match. So I'm at the point like maybe I should keep the table because it's on loan right now. I should keep the table and lose the rug, or find another table and keep the rug. But I'm kind of like the table. I don't know if.
You like you're borrowing them.
Well, the rug, yeah. So rug's another story. But the table, I just needed because the last time I needed a table for this session. So I didn't have one. So anyway, special shout out to Blaze and Bloom. Thanks for the table and the chairs. It's working out really well.
It's like good sunlight coming in.
It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's a cool space here.
I believe this building. My father was telling me it was a bakery or something. Like,
yeah,
do you know what the history is?
It was some manufacturing company, back 100 or so years ago, I believe. It might have sat vacant, and now there was J. Rene Coffee Roasters got his start in this building.
Oh, really?
If anybody's familiar with
there's a lot of people got started here then, huh?
There is a baker here. She used to be commercial. She does basically just wholesale now. She's not open to the public anymore, but she's still here. But I don't know if this was could be. I have no idea.
Yeah. There's probably always been a couple things.
It's always been a couple things. Yeah, it's a cool, fun building. Of course, the breweries here now is taking up a lot of space, which I think is just awesome. They keep expanding every time something comes open. They scoop it up. So New Park Brewing. So come on down, check it out.
Oh, Work in Progress.
Work in Progress is here. Yeah. They're here.
Mm-hmm.
And they're killing it here in this building. It's a very cool, eclectic. There's a tattoo place in the back of the building. I can't remember the name of it. So a lot of places.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. They were somewhere buried, and they moved into a new space not all that long ago, and they're a little bit more visible now. And they're right behind. Got the wallpaper and the framing and everything like that. So
cool.
Yeah, it's very, very cool. So what else is happening in the world of real estate?
This is why it's fun, right? We can just keep talking.
We just keep talking about anything. I don't know. I'm gonna keep changing it up, and
I like it though.
Just interrupting and changing directions. But that's how conversations go, right?
Yeah, and this is what people actually like to listen to.
Exactly. Yeah, I hope anyway. We'll find.
I don't know. We'll find out. A couple of podcasts I listen to that are like 2 to 4 hours long.
That's a long podcast.
I know.
Yeah.
But like you're driving around all day, or you're working out at the gym, like whatever. Yeah.
You know what I do? I'm listening to people. It's like, oh, I always listen to podcasts in my car. I'm like, I like listening to music in my car. So, I was on a long drive. I was like, I'm going to put on a podcast. So I put on, I'm like,
That's how it all
I'm like,
starts.
this is great.
Yeah, that's how. Yeah.
This is great. I like
Yep.
It's funny because I do listen to talk radio sometimes, but then that gets to be the same nonsense over and over. So
It's kind of hit or miss. It has to be the right
yeah,
podcast.
it has to be the right. Yeah. So
I'll listen for like 10 minutes to see if it's.
it's not a podcast, but have you ever listened to TIC Sunday morning? They have a tag sale on Sunday mornings. It's the Sunday morning tag sale. It's on Sunday morning on 1080 a.m. And it's just that. So people call up and they say, I have some stuff to sell, and the guy talks to them, and they get the phone number. I've never called or bought anything, but just the way, it's just fascinating to listen to. I mean, what these people are selling and how they're going to.
I've heard shows like that before, but I don't know if I've
Check
actually
it
listened
out.
to that one.
Yeah. I forget the guy, the host. So it's the Sunday morning tag sale, 1080. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So what's happening in the real estate world? What are the let's talk about even though this not really the topic of our conversation. What are the trends that you see coming up in 2020? I mean, our houses. So I can tell you right now, my house in '08 tanked a little bit. Not terrible. I think West Hartford actually held up really, really well in the real estate market. It dipped a little bit, but now it's sort of like plateaued for like years. So what's up with that? Can you give us any insight on what's happening with real
Well,
estate?
if it's plateaued, it's very reliable then, right?
I guess.
Yeah.
But I want that to go. I remember, Anyway, we're not going to see that real estate spike like we did prior to '08, probably ever again anytime soon.
I don't think so.
That was people were doubling their house.
Yeah, I mean, this is
in 4 years.
Okay.
My previous house doubled in value in about 4 years.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
When I think about my knowledge of local real estate, I think it can often revolve around like the what do you think about like the typical house, right?
Yep.
So the most typical house that I can ever think of, and it's just where I am. It's this is where I'm from, right? It's a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath colonial house.
Yeah.
With a 1-car garage.
Perfect.
Right?
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
Within maybe like a mile or so of West Hartford Center. That's like the starting point for when I think about like what is a house, what is it priced, like how's it going to work, right? Mm-hmm. So that house is hovering in the 300 range.
Sure.
For as long as I've been doing this, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So what changes that? So use that house, right? So don't change any features about it. This is like you're going to take a little trip into my brain here for a second, because this is not like a end all be all way of thinking about things, right? But let's say that house is in mint condition,
Sure.
and by that I mean if it is old, you can't tell, because it's been completely rehabbed.
Okay, so it's
right?
all updated, new plan, everything.
Brand spanking new.
1954 house, but brand new.
Brand new, yeah.
Gotcha.
That could be probably as high as like 350 or 360, right?
Right.
So that will tip the scale, but it can't be like you updated the kitchen in 2012 and you've been living in it since then, right? So that's going to affect that price, right?
Sure.
So that would bring it down quite a bit. But that same house, person's been living in it their whole entire life. They're 90 years old. They pass away or move to a nursing home, and now people are trying to figure out what to do with the house, and it has not been updated.
Probably not. No.
Ever.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
That same house could be as low, well, we'll go into a different category. If it's livable, right?
So let's do livable.
Livable, that could be as low as like 250.
But 1954 and 1954
possibly.
Period. Okay.
A person still might buy that to live in it and update it as they.
So you're looking at $100,000 difference.
Yeah, right? Just in that type of house. But let's take that same house, and no one's lived in it for a couple years, and it's falling apart and has water damage or whatever. Now that's in a category of a house that you cannot even finance with a mortgage.
Right.
So that's a whole different category, right? Because, there's a whole different tangent you can go off on here about how, whenever there's availability of financing, the prices of things just, skyrocket, not just like go up a little bit, but like,
Sure.
right? So we could talk about student loans. We could talk
Yeah,
about
we
car
talk-
loans.
yeah.
Like what? Right.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, right? You can't finance that house with a traditional mortgage. Therefore, no buyer can buy it unless they have cash,
Sure.
which means that the only person who's buying that house is an investor who's going to rehab the house
And flip it.
So then
Right.
they need to make a profit on it. So then that house is actually going to be worth like probably under 200, right?
Yeah.
By that point.
Gotcha.
At the most.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And that's the
maybe
same
maybe a
house-
little bit above in West Hartford.
That's
but
the
yeah.
same house, just different.
Yeah, same
condition.
features, right?
Same location, same features.
Yeah.
Same square footage, just different. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So is it worth, if you have that $250,000 house, the one that hasn't been updated, right? Is it worth bringing it up to code, bringing it up to modern standards, to do all of that work, and then sell it and get your money back for the investment you put into to update that house?
Well, there's
So
probably-
you spend a year updating, you spend tens of thousands of dollars, if not $100,000, rehabbing the house, kitchen, bathroom, redo the floors, whatever, paint, and now you want to put it on the market. Are you going to make your money
It is
back?
still a gamble.
It's still a gamble.
Yeah.
So there's no guarantee. So you could lose money.
No guarantee in anything.
Of course
You
not.
could still lose money. Yeah.
course not,
In
yeah.
fact, something I've started to realize, we've got these companies that are like flipping multiple houses at a time. If you try to do the work that they're doing by yourself, it can be almost double the cost. So you could get your house up to date slightly and then probably do a little bit better, right? So like if you have an old electric system, you could update that. So you're still not going to make a ton of money, but you might make a little bit more.
So what are
Yeah.
some, if you have that older house,
Yeah.
and you don't want to do the whole rehab thing, because it's like that's too much money, that's too much of a risk, what are some, not guaranteed, but what are some less risky ways to invest, I don't know, a little, $10,000, right? Let's invest $10,000, let's not even put a money figure on it. What are some small things you can do to update your house, to get it to sell quicker, and still get your money back?
All
on
right,
your
so let's
investment?
talk about that for a second, right?
Yeah.
So first of all, you do have to have upgraded systems, no matter what, that are in relatively good shape. Like there's things that you can't have. Like if you have an old electric system, you're gonna have to update
Like with
it.
fuses? That
Yeah,
has to be
yeah,
updated.
yeah. So that would have to
Yeah.
be done, right? But then this, people want things. Well, first of all, if they're not perfect, they want them to look good. You're like you will not lose by painting your house, right?
Okay.
Yeah, like
That's an easy one then.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So you can make your old house look better with some lighting fixtures and some painting. You just want neutral colors on the wall. And you hear people say things like, why would I want to paint my walls if somebody else is just going to come in and paint them whatever color they want? But
Of
like,
course. Yeah.
it's the same idea. It's actually just cleaning it. Think of it as like a real cleaning of the
It's just
house too.
cleaning it, yeah.
You want it to not look like your house at all. So
Yeah.
you chose green walls, and in your studio here,
Well, I chose, interesting paint
which it's fun.
going on in here.
Yeah.
Fun is a good word.
So some people like to have fun with their
Yeah.
colors,
Yeah.
but the ones that appeal to everyone are more neutral.
So you would
grays
not,
and whites.
You would not recommend painting my house, the interior of my house, this color scheme if I wanted to sell it?
No.
Probably not.
Yeah, so you would want to do, you could paint the walls, you could stage the house, like it, just make it look like impersonal, like that kind of stuff will help a lot.
Yeah.
Maybe some flooring, if you have some old nasty linoleum flooring, put a newer layer of flooring on top, like that
Right.
kind of stuff.
Just
yeah.
small things, so you don't have to spend a lot, because they probably will redo it, so why invest a ton of money in putting down, high-end,
But you will
floors.
not be able to do what a company that is flipping multiple houses at a time
Sure,
would
of
do.
course.
Because they are doing multiple at a time.
Yeah.
They can promise their contractors more work. It's just there's
Yeah.
no way to do it. You might spend as much as double the amount.
Yeah, wow.
So if you do have a house that you're trying to get rid of, you're probably not going to do that. you know.
So you recommend, because I've seen some pictures of houses. Some are like, you're really trying to sell that house? I mean, they got like dog toys scattered, strewn across the floor. I mean, these are on, the website, and they're trying to sell or rent their house,
Yep.
So anyway, you're saying like best case, fresh coat of paint, update some things that are very outdated, and then stage it. Get all your stuff out of there, put all another stuff in there.
Depersonalize, declutter.
Depersonalize, declutter. The 2 Ds.
Yep. You can actually do a lot with the furniture that you own already too. So,
Okay.
All
right.
With Meali team, we give everybody a consultation with a stager,
Okay.
So you get a report when they're done, and you can take their recommendations. Some people are better than others. It's like some people are house people that understand what is neutral and what would look good to everybody, while others have a little bit of a harder time with it. And, that's just how it is.
15 years ago, we sold our house in Clinton by owner. So it was a big thing, right? Everybody was selling their house in 2004, I believe we sold it, right? Somewhere in there. And, went online, sellyourhouse.buyyourself.com or whatever it was. And, we bought a couple of signs. I mean, our whole investment was $200, something ridiculous. And we got a phone call, looked at the house. They're like, we'll take it. It was below our asking price, but not much. And one other person came to look. Didn't make an offer, so I was like, I'm not waiting. It's not, So anyways, those days, and we didn't stage our house.
Yeah.
I mean, it was freshly painted, but it was, and I don't think those days are coming back. Again, I think those days are long gone.
Well, you know what? There's 2 things that you said there that jump out at me. I'm not taking notes, so maybe there was more.
So,
but there's 2 for sure, right? So first of all, I would say that, like, if you're going to sell your house on your own, like the people who are successful at doing that, like they already know the person who's going to buy their house usually, right?
Yeah.
Like they heard about the house, or a friend of a friend, that sort of thing. But if you're going to start marketing your house on your own, your chances of success of that just plummet.
I think
they just go down the drain.
I think
like it's
lucky.
1 in 100, right?
Yeah, I think we were lucky.
Well,
That's
at the
why I
time
just
you were
kinda
doing
went
it, that's
with
like, so there's, you found a way to market it on your own.
Yeah.
But then you said the buyer still wanted a discount. Yeah, so like anyone who's looking at a for sale by owner, they're going to want a discount because they know that that person is not paying a real estate commission, which is factored into the home value of every house out there to begin with. Love it or hate it, that's just part of the business, right?
Yeah.
Also, if you're talking about 15 years ago, it was way different,
Way
right?
different.
Right? Because
Yeah.
for one thing, and I'm not just talking about like the real estate market, but like 15 years ago, you could, even if you look at things on like the MLS, like you can go back like and see like historically if you go back to like even 2009, 2010, there's like 3 or 4 iPhone photos of a house, right? And like that's it. And then it's like, so you really had to go in to see what it looks like. When we're putting a house on the market now, it's a huge focus on staging and professional photography to make it look as good as it possibly can.
There's people that make a living as a photographer. For
Oh,
real
absolutely.
estate.
And
Make good living.
here's the thing, because what we're doing now, more than ever, is we're making a product that the world is going to see. All right?
Yeah.
Everyone's like, it's syndicated all over the internet. And people love real estate, not just people who are even like serious about buying and selling houses. So your house could get noticed. I mean, I just heard about one the other day. I was like, oh, this listing looks really good, right? On Sunday, showing started on Monday. I heard from the agent that the house had 21 showings and 9 offers on Monday, right? So people were looking at it the days leading up to. I mean, like you are making a product that you want to generate interest from.
Do you as an agent or as a team, do you not take on clients because they won't do certain things to get their house prepared for sale? I'm talking about people who are selling.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the number one thing with that would probably because
you sell.
Well, it does. I mean, it comes down to price too, right?
Yeah.
If a person doesn't want to do anything to their house, somebody will still buy it for a price, for a certain price. But if they want to not do anything to get their house ready for sale and still want to go for top dollar, that's probably not a strategy that's going to work. So there's ways that, we attempt to make people see that light, but if they ultimately don't want to do it, then there's nothing we can do about it. We probably wouldn't want to take them on as a client. That's true.
Yeah. Because I guess
if you don't want to be in the business of listing things that don't sell.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, terrific point. Yeah, because that affects.
That doesn't mean anything. You're spending money to market someone's
there's no excuses.
property.
That house you've had on the market for 4 months, it still hasn't sold, and you can't. They don't want to hear
then it just expires, and then they don't.
And they won't do this. And there's no. It's like all they see is that the house didn't sell.
Yeah.
Right. Right, They just like anything, right? All they see is the bad work. They don't know the excuses. I mean, you'd say all
I
day
got a
long.
good one, because it relates to so many other things. Like just yesterday, I was talking to someone who's trying to sell an old couch, right? Not like a really old one, like it's still really nice. And she was saying, she's like, this couch was like $2,000. Shouldn't somebody want to buy it for $700? It's like 5 years old, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, I was like, you'll know when you get the price right when more than one person is interested.
Yeah.
Until that, your chances of selling that couch are like so slim that you might as well not even try.
Sure.
It's unfortunate, right? But there's often.
It's all based on the market, right? You think that makes sense. Well, it's 5 years old. I bought it for $2,000. Okay, $750 sounds good, but maybe not. Maybe that's it's a used couch.
The problem is when there's often a gap between what something ought to be worth based on the materials it took to do it, right, and what people are actually willing to buy. And I think that's always what we're trying to figure out in the economy in general, right?
Yeah, of course.
Right. So
what the market will bear, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you might have to get that. And used furniture is a terrible thing. It's just so bad, right? Because they charge so much for the brand new furniture, but then absolutely nobody wants used stuff, right?
Yeah.
So you might have to get down to a ridiculously low price to sell your couch that you paid a ridiculous amount to begin with, right?
Sure.
So but you've hit the price right with interest.
Why would she sell it after 5 years and spend
know.
$2,000 on a couch and sell it 5 years later?
I don't know.
Because that's a lot of money for on a couch to sell maybe she's moving.
Yeah, but that's the kind of thing it can be related to anything else. So that's what it is.
Yeah.
You want interest in the property.
Sure.
You'll know if it's going to sell at that price within a week.
Yeah.
Right. So that one that's I got 9 offers.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And then you get the right price, and then they don't call you back. You're like, okay, come Tuesday, pick it up, and then they never show up. So then you got to start all over again.
Yeah.
I love that one.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Well, listen, man, this is we gotta wrap stuff up. It's I don't know how long it's been. It's been a little while. I'd love to keep talking, but we got things to do today.
Yeah.
So Dave, listen, any last thoughts or comments before we close out this conversation?
Call me if you. Who do you know that is looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate? That is what I need at the moment, and I would love to help anybody. Yeah. Get them into our world. Then you can come to all of our events. That's.
Yeah, look it up, folks. So Dave Pilon, he's with the Miali team at Keller Williams here
Facebook,
in West Hartford.
Instagram.
Instagram, hit him up. Great dude, great guy to have a cup of
Snapchat.
coffee with. Snapchat. You on TikTok?
Yeah, but I don't know how to use it. We'd have to consult my 12-year-old niece.
Yeah, so TikTok is fascinating me. But anyway, that's a topic maybe you have to come back for. We'll talk about TikTok. Yeah, TikTok. TikTok's killing it. Everybody says it's just for the young people. I've been on it, man.
We're next.
I don't think so. There's some. Yeah. Anyway, that's a whole different. So Dave, listen, thanks a lot for stopping by. I think this is a cool conversation, and so I don't know when this is going to go up on the air, but hopefully tomorrow or over the weekend. So,
cool.
Folks, I try to post these once a week. I don't have a regular schedule yet since this is only number 2, so it's going to try to be like Friday or maybe Monday or sometime over the weekend. So. Check it out. Dave Chmielewski here. What are we? People behind the brand or something like that. Thanks a lot for listening. We'll see you later.
Still trying to figure it out what it is. Or something like that.
Something like that.